Nicholas.
Hello,
Hello, Nicholas.
so sorry.
We miss you.
Brief summary, we decided not to have a formal chair. That's where we are.
Well done. I approve.
You were the leading, it was gonna go to you, but then at the last moment.
Yeah, you were nominated, but
But then the meeting would have really sucked without me there, so.
then you showed up and
That's right.
blew that idea.
I thought they're open till 6, the treasurer.
Oh, she had to leave early because she was sick.
Oh,
Can I
boy.
help you with something?
Yeah.
So Nicholas, we are going to start down the list, since we're organized and we know what we're gonna do, we're gonna start on the environmental monitoring and wells old landfill. So we're using the town administrator's memo as a guide for the order of battle, and then take up the Fran Fortino Board of Health item last. That was the last edition. And you got that correct, Nicholas?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So just let me ask this question, maybe a procedural question. Is again, historically, we've kind of done an initial meeting like this, gone through all the items, identified any questions that we've had, and then had a second meeting to make decisions. And I'm gonna assume we're gonna do that unless there's a.
If there's reason to do it, then usually one have held off for a second meeting, if there were questions
Yeah.
that came up.
Yeah,
We'll see if there are questions that.
okay.
Better
Yeah,
mind.
I suppose if we wanna just get it done and we feel comfortable doing.
Right.
It's usually 2 meetings to,
Yeah, it's usually 2 meetings, but, you know.
second meeting, we assign the priorities.
Yeah, let's go through the
Yeah.
list and see if we've got any
Right.
You're just
So
gonna.
Any real
it's an open
debate.
question of whether we're gonna decide tonight,
more
do our
cut and dried lists
prioritization
here
or do
than
this in
usual.
2 steps.
Okay,
So do you have anything to share other than what was shared in writing about the landfill monitoring?
Nothing beyond other than this is
It's a mandate.
It's a mandate, essentially. We do need to do it. The primary reason is due to the fact of the residences that are next door to the property, to the south and across the street. So DEP is concerned, it just wants to ensure that we are properly monitoring it and making sure that we are not in fact off-gassing or infiltrating the water source in that area.
I think it's DEP mandate
We don't
pretty
have
much leads us
That's a
to
no-brainer.
an A, yes.
no
Right.
choice on that.
That's true, but can you just again remind me how the $20,000, where that came from?
They gotta put in.
It's based on an estimate, based on the scope of work
Okay.
and discussing it with DEP. It could be anywhere from 12 to 20,000, but it's gonna be based on the number of. Because the equipment rental primarily, and due to the fact that the wells have to be dug on the downslope, which is pretty inaccessible, so we're gonna have a vehicle that has a long arm, and those are more costly.
Right,
If it's there for a half day or even a full day, the rate's gonna go up, so it's really difficult to pinpoint the exact cost, other than we know that it's gonna be somewhere between 12 and 20.
okay. And is it done via RFP? Like, do you let a contract?
Or we could get it off of the bid list, state bid list.
Okay, all right. If I have any other questions?
It's any difference, it's an A.
Yeah.
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 Number 2,
Redesign website, I think it needs it.
new housing.
Oh, no, new
That was a
hosting.
big slide.
Oh,
Redesign new hosting for the town website. I think this is sort of almost a definitional B. It's not urgent,
right.
but I think it needs to be done.
And do you think that why, Fred?
Because the old site is funky and
What's the accessibility standards that they were talking about?
This has to do with requirements for those with limited accessibility with either vision impairment,
Section 508.
Yeah,
yeah, with
And they
like
don't, it doesn't
color.
meet it now.
We do, if we are to update the site, we're definitely gonna have to comply, but we've tried to make modifications as we go along. We're meeting the minimums, but there are additional improvements that we can do.
yeah, and I don't think it falls under A, it's not urgent, but would be desirable.
Also, we're gonna go on to the next one.
Yeah, we're going to, we don't have to designate it, but
Right,
my opinion.
okay. All right. So the next one. The next one is the survey and analysis of the library environment.
We need to pass it through that one.
What's this, what are they looking at the library for this? Analysis of the environment.
Yeah,
Mold, asbestos, lead.
so did they actually have a quote for this, or where do they pick this number from? Often we get details, sort of, I mean, we're not.
This one is based, I believe it's actually. It is based on a quote.
Ocean Atlas.
Oh, Atlas.
Yeah.
Services.
And so the main reason that they want to do this is anytime that they have been needing to do some kind of project. Before they even start to look at it, the questions come up, well, do you have X? Is this a particular situation? Do you have asbestos, or is there lead paint, or is there this type of issue? And so they always get hampered because they don't even know the status of the environmental problems at the building before they then can take on a project and know ahead of time. We already know that there is like a mold issue in that area, therefore we're gonna have to remediate the mold as part of this project over here, or if we are going to repaint in this area, there was old lead paint. So they want this analysis in order to be able to better come to the town and say, when we do this project, we definitively know it's gonna cost these 3 line items because we've done this analysis.
And none of that's come up before with all of their projects.
Oh, it comes up every time, but
Why
they're
is it-
they're never sure, and so then
They
they'll
just
start
skirt
a
around
project
it?
and then they'll
Why
get it.
Why do we need engineers to come and tell us what we've already
I
Because you
guess-
haven't done a
determined
full
and answered
analysis.
before?
You
Right,
haven't
well,
done a
well,
full
why hasn't it,
analysis.
have they just skirted around it in the past?
No,
Why
no, no,
hasn't
they've
it
only
been
looked at it in
addressed?
the one situation, so if it was like when they had to do the lift, they only looked at the issue
Where the
right
lift's at.
there where the lift was gonna go as opposed to
Got
the
you.
entire building.
Okay,
Yeah,
In terms of cost, is it cost effective to do the whole building or to continue to do it on a piecemeal basis? I mean, it may be inconvenient for them to answer the question, but if it costs less per event,
I
To
mean,
do-
we'll
to do-
eventually get around to all parts. of
and
the building.
eventually they'll get around to all parts that are being worked on.
So it could surface issues that, you know, sort of like having a home inspection perhaps, that it might surface issues that need attention now that are not visible to the naked eye, perhaps.
like, wouldn't that happen if it triggered that there's asbestos or lead in a building, that they would have to remediate it now?
only when you do work on that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not, it can just sit there until.
As long as you're not touching it, it's when you touch it that those
Yep,
things,
okay.
yeah. That's the problem, is that when they've gone to, you know, they had the water issue down in the basement. And so then they knew they had to paint that room, so then they were like, well, we don't know what. We have to figure out if there's a problem with the paint right now, or they're always behind
Mhm.
in their knowledge. They know the immediate, which is, we wanna paint, but what are the problems with doing the painting here, because we don't know what's behind the walls or what's.
And has it been a big cost at the time when the contractor goes to paint and needs to find out if there's lead in the paint? Or,
I can't speak to that. All I can speak to is when they go to ask for capital money. And or if they know they have a budget that allows for a certain amount, they go to start the project and suddenly
it's more,
they get in and now, oh, we have to stop work.
yeah,
We now have to get more money because we didn't know. Yeah, so it's just making sure they're prepared and.
I think we ought to ask them, what.
Yeah,
What they've spent for a project.
right, what it costs to do it on a piecemeal basis.
Yeah.
We need to know, is it cost effective to spend $900 for the whole building, or? You know, is it,
Could I just ask Nicholas, because he's done some work like around buildings in town, what kind of surprises have you encountered? I mean, just sort of curious about this issue of unexpected things coming up when work gets started that leads to work stoppages, increased cost, that sort of thing. Any personal experience that you could?
That has never happened to me. But most of my projects for the town have been all pretty small scale. So, and I usually assume, like a building like that, I would assume lead paint. So take the necessary precautions. Certainly any exterior work, there's gonna be lead underneath the layers of paint.
So it sounds like this committee has a question for the library board of trustees, which is seeking a little more information on, like,
What does it cost on your past projects?
yeah, yeah,
as
like,
needed cost as opposed to. a
yeah,
right,
like, is there any evidence that from past projects that there have been work stoppages or unexpected increases in costs? I mean, just to help figure out what's the right priority level for this. This does seem like an effort
Well, I
to be
think-
proactive.
More for, not the priority of it, but more for the cost of what have they encumbered the cost of money, how much per project or what part of the building? So that we can compare that to the total of 7,000.
Understood, but then how would that information help you make a decision about prioritization? Or how would that help you decide that we would take no position on this?
if it turns out that this is much more expensive than doing it on a per project basis, then we would say, probably no recommendation. And
And what are the next projects coming up that they're foreseeing? There's been a lot of work done in the library. It seems like, I wonder if this is a thing that's happened in the past, but in the next 10 years?
But
Is,
we have another library item on our list tonight, like a painting project, so this is just one of two library things before
Okay.
us.
And the other projects paint the downstairs.
Yeah.
I think we need questions answered on this one, so
yeah,
we'll set it aside for now until we get questions answered. And maybe part of them will come up when we get to the painting one.
I guess my other concern about this whole concept, I mean, I appreciate being prepared, but by the time they get to needing to do something 8 years from now, there may be another environmental contaminant that's been determined to be a problem. And so the ones we're looking at today might not include all the things that are going to need to be concerned about in the future.
Yeah, and the way you explained it was that it's just, they're spending $7,000 just to be more prepared when they put in a bid. Not necessarily to remediate any issues, but just to be more prepared when they put in a bid.
No, when they put in it, I mean, this is the library asking for the money.
No, I
So
mean,
when
for
they
any
ask
other,
for
any
it,
other future work,
When
Yeah.
they ask for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
So
don't know,
they're,
that's a
what
lot.
they're asking for an examination of the interior and exterior for mold, asbestos, and lead. Sort of a general evaluation of the building that they don't have. Presumably, except unless they do a project or somebody says, oh, what's that on the wall or on the ceiling, right?
Correct.
So not doing this could potentially allow these contaminants to remain. But I'm with additional information
We need
from,
more input to it. We don't care about if they can't find it, they got, mold sticking around somewhere, then this would not go in and tear apart a building to see if you have
yeah,
things like that in the interior part of a wall.
Yeah. yeah.
They would encumber that when you're doing a remodel thing, so it's monies that we wouldn't know about now anyways.
It just seems like a lot just to be able to say when they wanna ask for money for a project.
Table.
We know we have, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get more information for it.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Painting the library downstairs. What part of the library downstairs, the whole section, or?
Let's see.
It looks, by the wording, it sounds like they wanna paint the downstairs.
I think it's the entire lower level,
Yeah.
but they note that it's
Part of it
also
was
the-
damaged.
that area that
Yeah.
was damaged, yeah.
I mean, we don't make judgments about cost. It's a committee. But it seems like a large amount of money for the amount of painting to be done.
Did they state in here that they are going to, paint any part of it or encumber any of the expenses out of their maintenance?
This is a full capital, the project is assumed to
So
be
they're not coming up with any money.
correct. They have a small maintenance budget and they eat through that maintenance budget every year, so yeah, it does not include any portion of their maintenance.
Well, and so they're just reading this project right after the request for $7,000. This contractor is part of their job to work in accordance with the EPA and OSHA with lead protocol. So they're just doing it anyway. And that's part of her bid here is to be already remediating any lead issues.
Yeah, that's why we're saying this survey is.
Yeah,
necessary.
yeah, I'm just clarifying that just seems like it's unnecessary.
It's not the entire downstairs, but would include stacks and things on the side, but just the conference room, so the big central room
On the back of all books are and all that kind of stuff.
that doesn't seem to be included
Yeah.
in
Yes,
the
it
bid.
Doesn't even seem to include the bathrooms.
No,
or
just this
anything.
conference room.
You're right, yeah.
That's a lot for just a conference room.
And every time I'm in the conference room, there's minimal stuff down there. I mean, it would be
Easy.
pretty easy paint job.
Yeah.
Darcy, how much do you think you charged when you painted that room?
Yeah, I did paint that room already once.
Yeah,
Not 14,000, I can tell you that, but that was
Well,
ages
you
ago.
should have.
Right? I'm gonna start bidding again. No,
So a related question is,
Yeah.
is it possible that this bid is this high because the contractor was concerned about lead and other things that they might have to do?
Let's get off of that.
Yeah.
no,
Get off of that.
Yeah.
I think that this is,
I'm not,
well, yeah,
I'm
you're bringing
sorry,
up,
I'm.
you're bringing up lead again.
I'm bringing up lead again, that's right.
He said he was prepared to work
Yes,
with
I
that
understand.
situation.
I think we know where we are on this
Yeah,
one.
and work with that situation.
And the issue here was all, is there any deterioration which would happen if it's not painted, or is it really purely aesthetic?
I mean, it's not the job of our committee to decide if this is the right bid, right?
Yeah.
It's just to decide if it was important, because this bid is like ridiculously high as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
for just the conference room.
Yeah.
If they were doing the bathroom and all the other kitchen, there's a kitchen there and the staff room and all that, they're not doing any of that by the looks of it.
I mean, ordinarily, I would give it a, a B or something like that, or a C, but the price raises a question.
I think I'd like to see some more bids
Yeah,
before.
yeah. So maybe the question is like, have they gotten any other bids? Or did they just go based on one bid at 14,000?
Right, is that the job of the finance committee to come back and say that's way too high,
Finance,
right?
finance takes care of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just a. If it's just for that one room,
Mm.
it's gonna be a C anyway.
But yeah, I was just gonna say that based on our criteria, I don't think they give it anything other than a C
Yeah,
regardless.
Well, I mean, the only part of it that could be an issue is they're saying that part of it is the part that was damaged by water infiltration. I can see that needing to be repaired and painted.
Yeah, but does this include repair, or just, it looks like it's just a bid for
It's
paint?
just a bid for painting.
Spray glues and
Yeah,
falling plaster and paint co-op storage, putty hole and.
Yeah, so it is, I mean, failing plaster, I guess, yeah, it is the repair of that as
But-
well. So,
Fixing or making pretty the water damaged area would not be 14,000.
I don't think so, but that's not our job to decide. I can see needing to repair it if it's damaged.
Good, I agree with Dan, but under any circumstance, I don't see it getting rising above the C. Regardless.
okay.
all right, we'll move on to the school.
Phase 2 installation.
We committed to this last
Yes.
year.
That
Yeah.
just needs to happen.
That's an A.
So that goes on as it was. Hall painting. Next one.
Yeah.
Town hall painting. And it doesn't say on here whether it's the. You say the whole building?
It's just-
Uh,
It doesn't specify, it's not the whole building, so.
Would we
it's the whole
get anything
building.
beyond the request form?
So we have no other documentation.
We don't have
No,
a specific quote on it.
No,
Do you have
Okay.
any more information on that?
No.
Um,
yeah, he said, project previously submitted, yes, but no quote.
so again, it's just for us to decide whether we think it needs to be painted, but for the finance committee to decide about getting quotes and prices.
Well, I think maybe to talk to Keith as far as the urgency of it.
Yeah, being that. Talk with Keith and find out when that north side, what year that north side was painted. And how much peel that's going on now in the rest of the building.
Yeah, I worry much more about exterior painting
Oh,
for
yeah,
damage than interior painting.
yeah.
Didn't we approve something on the town hall last year?
Was it last year for the north side or was it the year before?
Well, a few years ago, we did the
Yeah.
exterior north side on the lower part where it was, the water was splashing and stuff on it.
Yeah, we did the door openers last year. But I don't think last year was the north side.
No, I think it was at least the
No,
year
it wasn't last
before.
year, a few years ago.
Yeah, there was, last year was ceiling of library brick survey.
Oh, was that the library works last year. Before that, yeah. Do we wanna see him or just ask questions or he can?
and Darcy Nicholas can,
It'd be nice to have-
look at it and,
Yeah, it'd be
with an
nice
intelligent,
to take a look and just have a little more information
Right.
on whether it really needs to be painted or not. I haven't
my
really
looking at it
looked at it
wouldn't do any
closely.
good.
Yeah.
Couldn't.
And I think one of the issues with exterior painting is there's a variety of opinions about how
Yeah.
the urgency of it. Could it go another year, or is it gonna be a much bigger job? If it's
Right.
done in 2 years versus this coming year? I think you would get different opinions on that subject.
2 years ago, there was window and chimney repair restoration at the library. And the
Yeah,
electrical.
well, that's library.
Around the
Uh,
town hall,
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant the,
around the town hall.
yeah.
Yeah, and town hall
There's
was
nothing.
renovated, what, 10 years ago now, 8 years
Yeah,
ago?
yeah, at least.
Something like that. But in that context, most of the structure is relatively new.
Yeah. Yeah,
It is shored up
and
and,
the north side has been painted since then.
Yeah.
So it's just when, but.
You
Alright, so
wanna
we just,
take-
so
you
we
wanna
just need
take
to
a
look at it.
that, or?
I think so.
Yeah, we just need to look at it.
All right. You're designated to take a look and give us your opinion.
Okay,
Okay, so he's gonna look into it, so that's taken care of.
Simon gets his mail.
And then we'll do a B or C.
right.
by Town Beach.
This is a project to fund a new dock at 32,000. It is through a CPA request. They did submit the CPC to the CPC their request. Last week, the Deerfield CPC did approve their 50% portion, the 16,000.
Actually, I had a meeting 6 months ago out there with the Town Beach Board. They're doing a fantastic job in trying to fix that. They've got energy and a plan and all of that. And if this is part of their plan, I would be all in favor.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the dump that it had been, and they're constantly working to make it better.
Yeah.
It's good to
And
hear.
And if they haven't
more
replaced-
attractive, and
Yeah,
they're getting camp groups in there, and,
guessing that dock is ancient too.
oh yeah, the dock is should be condemned, the current dock.
So no questions on the Tri-Town Beach dock.
Serious, isn't it?
And it could well be, but yeah, no, that's just gonna be essentially left, and this is a dock and sort of breakwater, just separate out different areas, and
So the last one is the Board of Health. And this one, I definitely had questions based on the language. They say they've rented this trash compactor unit for several decades. I mean, I get the cost benefit. They've been paying a monthly rental cost for several decades, and now they'd like to buy and own one. They say they wanna either buy the one that's there, that's been used for several decades. I wonder what's got its, well, if they bought the one that's there, what's the lifespan of that? And if they would get a refurbished model. I mean, I guess I'm a little just curious about buying something that's already potentially near the end of its useful life, or maybe a refurbished model. They're thinking more about that, then I'm better with that if I just had some idea of like typical useful life of a refurbished unit.
The other thing that I was thinking about is, this is only looking at what the cost is to purchase, but not the cost to maintain it or to service
That's
it,
a
which as a rental, you don't have to worry about that, but if there is
Yeah.
something that goes wrong with it,
Right,
we're now having to worry about maintaining and.
right, right.
And so
Yeah.
that's a cost that we don't see in here, the life cycle cost.
All right, so it would be interesting to know as another question for them, like, do they have any data on its reliability? How often is it going out and has it needed to be repaired? They may not know anything about what it costs and the turnaround time to get it repaired. But they would know.
Fran would know if it needed
Right.
repairs and
Yeah,
maintenance. Because he may not know what the costs are, but. Sure. The other issue I would have is if in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to replace the highway garage and probably relocate or reconfigure
Right.
the transfer station, is the same unit an appropriate one for a new,
Yeah.
a different location?
Yeah, it might be a thing to bring up when that's all
Yeah,
Basically,
Oh,
yeah.
basically it's a standard type,
right.
standard unit that all dimensions are.
The problem with having, but there are lots of little moving parts. You start talking about this, then you're talking about fire department, you're talking about.
Yeah,
transfer
I would
station.
say when that's all dealt
It's
with.
all interconnected,
Yeah, let's think about it then. Keep renting in the
but I
meantime.
don't know that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we need to do a little more digging as to whether, and the finance committee as to whether buying an old unit for that, designed for that location is what we should be doing at this point.
All right, so I think that's all we really need to do is pick another meeting date where Pete, you think we would likely have some answers to these questions. Is
yes.
that a week or two off?
Yeah,
And how quickly do you need stuff from this committee?
when is our first finance?
On the 21st, so 2 weeks from tomorrow. No.
It doesn't
a week
have
from
to be
tomorrow.
by the first meeting of the finance. but
No.
It should be, this should be in by the second meeting of finance.
okay.
Okay,
So I'm thinking like maybe 2 weeks from today,
Yeah,
the latest, yeah.
yeah.
On the spreadsheet, he said, I want to get back to those, the two items. One was the $142,000 on here. 125 of that was the design work for that culvert. Do we know if we don't have a formal request on it? Do we need to talk to Keith and find out?
Yeah, I'll look
Give
into
you the
that.
status on that.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing in that was going to be the voting machine, which we put $2,000
Correct. We
into,
already bought it.
and so that's completely off.
It will fall off. Yeah,
Right.
that spreadsheet not updated.
Okay.
Yeah.
fine, Just,
Yeah,
okay,
that's just last year's. I didn't touch it at all.
okay, fine.
I wanted to find out how this meeting goes before.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have methods yet.
you send it out, I see a number, I was.
Oh,
wondering
that, yeah, the file says it's the FY
whether-
'25.
Okay,
Yeah, cause I just didn't wanna.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about like breaking some of the systems. Before I get my fingers into it. Okay, so I just wanna recap. So for the next meeting, info on the Christian Lane culvert. Info on the library, both projects or just the analysis?
and the painting, just to clarify that it's only that one room, and did they get competitive bids on it?
Yeah,
Okay,
And is it really aesthetics?
Right,
Because that will help us determine whether it's a B or a C project.
right.
yep. And then, let's see. Town hall painting. Do you want Keith to weigh in on some of those questions, or Nick,
Yes.
did you just check it out?
No, I
Okay.
think we should have Keith's opinion as well, and then both Darcy and I will look at it and
And then,
And maybe talk to Neil as well. Neil will say it needs to be done, but
Yeah, yes, okay.
Neil, we know his answer.
Neil's already peppered me with it a few times, so.
Neil will say it should have been done last year.
Yes,
Yeah.
And then info on the trash compactor.
yes,
Do we want to invite those
yes,
people as well?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Always good to hear first person.
And it's just for the ones that you have questions on, right?
Yes.
It's not- Yeah,
But they could also, I mean, if they can't make it, these aren't that complicated.
Right, they can-
They ought to be able to provide enough information. I mean, is there one standard size of trash compactor
Yeah.
the maintenance cost of the trash compactors, the lifespan of them, like, it's not that. It's
Not
not,
rockets.
yeah,
Yeah.
And in any case, we're just giving an A, B, or C. I think it's gonna come to the finance committee to
Yeah.
decide, is this something we wanna do or not?
Okay, so then let's set the next meeting. Do we want to do 2 weeks
Yeah.
from today?
Yeah.
that
Did you
works
say-
for me.
Today, the 27th is what you're proposing?
Yeah,
27th would
That'll be
work
what,
for me.
January 27th?
Yeah.
Monday, January 27th is fine with me.
5 o'clock still okay?
5 o'clock
Yeah.
is fine.
Yeah. A little embarrassing
What?
to have just totally spaced it. I saw it coming on the calendar for a week. I've been like, oh yeah, that meeting. And then Monday came and I'm like, no meetings.
And was there another member that didn't make tonight?
Yes, what's her name?
Beth, right.
Beth. From the
From
school.
the school committee.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
To adjourn,
Second.
Second. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
I